Okay, so I find this so funny. I'm literally getting ready to do a video on this exact same topic. I jump on Twitter just to get some examples of people talking trash about Jeremy Sochan because there is a lot. I go ahead and just say, you know what, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to put that in the video. And then I see Noah McGarrow's tweet, and it's like, okay, I'm not crazy in thinking that this narrative has gotten completely out of hand.
I want some rest. Are we having fun yet?
There has been a lot of post-talk justification for the San Antonio Spurs losing, and it's way simpler than what people are making it out to be. So big shout out to Noah McGarrow here. You know we love Noah McGarrow over here, and I could not agree. I could not agree more. And I wanted to look at a few stats just to kind of prove my point a little bit. So Noah says, not on board with the narrative that these young Spurs are selfish when San Antonio ranks third in passes and assists per game this season. Have they misread reads? Yes. Is there too much lateral ball movement without creating advantages? Sure, but they aren't icing out Wemby. This was actually what I wanted to talk about. And he's saying they, but what I've heard mostly is that Jeremy Sochan is icing out Wemby. And that is not necessarily the case whatsoever. So guys, please subscribe to the video, like this video. It means the world to me. Turn notification bell, typical YouTube stuff. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. So Jeremy Sochan, we're going to look at some stats because it has been absolutely ridiculous. Some of the things that people have said about him. People have talked about his body language. They've talked about how it seems like he's not excited when when Victor Wembanyama makes a basket, and that is not the case whatsoever. And let me go ahead and say this too before we even get into the stats. Let me go on to the body language type stuff. So Jeremy Sochan, over the course of maybe the first 3 or 4 games, he looked like he was down on himself. We looked at interviews already in which they asked him, hey, what have you been working on this offseason? He said, what I've been working on the most is my playmaking. So it makes sense for him to struggle as a traditional point guard or in that role of a half-court point guard and, you know, be hype on himself. Obviously, he felt kind of down about that, and you can see it on the court. But also, Jeremy Sochan isn't like Keldon Johnson. He doesn't show his emotions on the court super often. I don't know if you guys knew that, or you guys, people that's on the channel, you know. But it's a lot of people. I feel like they just don't know that, and I think that that's kind of strange. Go back and look at any crazy highlight from Jeremy Sochan last season. He doesn't show a ton of emotion like that. He does really slick things to get under his opponent's skin. I mean, even the poster that he had last season, that insane poster, he didn't show too much emotion after it. He just did his little swag walk. So he just doesn't show that amount of emotion. So people are expecting something out of him that's not necessarily in his personality on court and not on par with what he usually does. Also, this idea that he's jealous of Wemby, have we forgotten things already? How about on draft night, how the NBA immediately went to Sochan and said, hey, you want to do some interviews? And he said, yeah, I'll do some interviews. And he was chalking it up with Wemby. They seemed to be getting close pretty quickly. And it was a nice little chemistry thing. Also, they've known each other for years. They played each other in basketball about 10 years ago, I believe. And there was a lot of footage coming up about that. We talked about that. And then Yet let's just forget the fact that during this offseason, him and Jeremy Sochan were talking about hair fashion. And hair fashion, is that even a thing? I feel like I'm saying that wrong. But they were talking about hair dye and all of that, in which Wemby approached Jeremy and was like, hey, who does your hair? And Jeremy's like, hey, man, I'll show you who does my hair. He immediately got his hair dyed. So, yes, they have like a friendship that's growing. I don't know where this is coming from, where you guys would think, or some people would think, that Jeremy Sochan is jealous of Wemby, because that's really what it's coming down to and how people think. And I don't think that's the case whatsoever. So not only based on what Noah has said, so we can get into the stats, not only based on what he said as far as the Spurs as a team not being selfish and being third in passes and assists. Obviously, they're not a selfish team. Spurs have rarely ever had a selfish team. It's always been a player or two, maybe, but that's even a rarity. So Jeremy Sochan, these are the stats that I actually want to go over. So look here. So this whole idea that he doesn't pass to Wemby, because that's what I've been hearing a lot of. It's his fault. He sucks. He's trash. He's not passing to Wemby. Well, if you go back and you look at this, actually, let's change this up a little bit. Let's go to advanced. And what we're going to do is, actually, I didn't have to go to advanced. Let's go totals. All right, so we're going to do totals. So you can see here, these are the amount of passes that he's made throughout the season, and these are the percentages in which who gets what. So 21% of frequency, it says frequency received, frequency made, is to Keldon Johnson, 19% is to Zach Collins, 17 is Devin Vassell, 15 to Victor Wembanyama, which this completely makes sense since he's already played with these players. And you can see the difference between the amount of touches that he's given to Devin Vassell versus Wemby is 52 to 46. Okay, so it's not that big a deal, but I wanted to add on to this. Okay, this is for the entirety of the season. But if we go back to the last, and I think he's been coming to his own a little bit better, maybe in the last 3 games. Let's see, which one would it be? All season segments. No, let's do the last 3 games. If we go here and we see how he's been over the last 3 games, you will see all of his passes have gone to Victor. Most of his passes have gone to Victor. It's a split between him and Keldon Johnson, so 20% frequency. Now, people saying that, well, he's not giving him the ball, and I've seen this a lot, but Trey Jones is giving Wemby the ball, but not Jeremy. Well, if we go to Trey Jones and we look at his split, so this is, actually, I got it per game again, sorry. If we do totals, we can see here that in actuality, he's given it to Victor Wembanyama 14.6 frequency as far as how often he's given it to him. 46 passes total. Now, I know they're not on the court at the same amount of time necessarily as him and Jeremy Sochan at times, but at the same time, you can kind of see that it's not what people are chalking it out to be. So if we go back again, so just to do that comparison, as you can see, actually this last 3 games still, hold on. Yeah. So as we can see here, 15% for Jeremy Sochan, 14% for Trey Jones. Now let's go ahead and add on to that, and we'll do, not per game. God dang it. We'll do last 3 games. So if we see the last 3 games for Trey Jones, you can see that it's 31 passes versus Jeremy Sochan's. There we go. 19 passes. So it's pretty good. And by the way, both of these guys have really good distribution as far as how they spread things out. But yeah, it's not that big. It's not that he's not giving him the ball. The problem is actually what Noah said here. The fact that the ball just isn't moving in an effective way. One thing that I was completely wrong about, and I will admit that I was wrong about this, and actually I'll just leave this up these last 3 games. One thing I realized I was wrong about was when we first got Jeremy Sochan, I thought that maybe he could potentially be like a Ben Simmons type player. But as time went on, I realized, no, he's not going to be a Ben Simmons type player. Ben Simmons, he can really utilize his athleticism. His dribbling ability is top tier. He can pass phenomenally. I think that he'll be closer to what we want out of a Boris Diaw type, or what you would want out of a Draymond Green type. He's not necessarily a traditional point guard, and I don't think that that's what the Spurs are looking for. I think in actuality, in this next draft, they're going to get their point guard. And if you look at that guy from North Carolina, okay, Cadeau, he's pretty nasty. Shout out to my boy Swish Hill for getting me onto him. We want him. we got to do some videos on him in the future. That dude is like sick. But yeah, anyways, besides the point, I just think that overall what they really want him to become is more of a glue guy, more of a Draymond Green, more of a Boris Diaw, as I said, because I think that would be more suitable to the type of player that he is, and he's not necessarily a half-court point guard. But with that being said, that's our options right now, and I think that it's a really smart move to put him in that position, because in the future, all it does is just add on versatility. It helps him with his growth and his basketball IQ. And when it's all said and done, we'll be able to mismatch like crazy. We'll mix match like crazy. We can put in him at point guard. We can take our point guard out for a minute, get him some rest. We could maybe even manage to have Jeremy Sochan as a backup point, and he can play more of a post-making playmaker. Like, we could just throw it all over the place. It'd just be an absolute wreck for teams. They won't know what to do. Okay, I just think that overall it adds to our versatility. He adds some things to his game. He'll have some other tools in his toolbox, and we'll keep it rolling. But he's not doing a terrible job. Okay, for his age, for the position that he's put in a position which he's never been in before. And if you know anything about Sochan, you know that everywhere he's been put in a different position. And this is just another one of those situations that his versatility and his growth is on full display. And I think that the main reason why he's getting so much hate is because we have Victor Wembanyama, and people have the idea in their heads that Victor should get the ball every single time, which I get it. I think he's the best player on the team. I mean, you could say Devin Vassell. I think maybe Victor Wembanyama is the best. Whatever. It doesn't really matter. But I get it. He should get. You think he should get the most touches. You think that Devin Vassell should get the most touches. But Victor Wembanyama himself is still trying to figure things out. And I think the team is still trying to figure out that a bad pass is actually a good pass when you're passing to Victor. So Jeremy Sochan right now, he's trying not to risk things too much. He doesn't get a plethora of turnovers. Okay, so he tries to make sure that he controls the ball quite well, and that's just one of those things that he's going to have to get accustomed to. So not only is he being accustomed to being this half-court point guard, but he's also trying to become accustomed to working with a player that no one in the history of the NBA has ever worked with before. This type is just unheard of. So yeah, he has to find different ways to get Wemby involved. The entire team knows that Wembanyama is that guy. They know. Jeremy Sochan isn't trying to be selfish here. He's never been a selfish player throughout his entire career. Now, if there was some point of his life where we went over it and it was like, oh, he seemed kind of selfish back, when he played in Poland. No, it's none of that. It's none of that. Nobody on this team is selfish. Everybody is trying their best. And as much stuff as I talk about Keldon Johnson at times, I will say that it's more so just a habit as far as the hero ball and having tunnel vision. He always had tunnel vision at times, man. It has nothing to do with Wemby being on the court or not being on the court. He's always had it. So overall, I think that is fine. It's not that big a deal. And also, it doesn't help when a lot of players aren't making their shots. Like, as we can see here, you see field goal percentages. Malachi Branham got 100%. But, yeah, you can see Keldon Johnson off of passes from Jeremy Sochan. Keldon Johnson's 20% field goal percentage. Victor's 30%. Julian's 50. That's only 2 passes. You can see Trey Jones is 50, which is they're pretty. No, there's only. Wait, am I tripping? And 16 assists, 1 assist. Okay, yeah, 50% field goal attempts, 2. Okay, yeah. Zach Collins 71.4%, and that's why Zach Collins gets the ball quite often. He's doing a good job. But yeah, overall, it's not pretty for field goal percentages and all that. So I don't know. I know I rambled quite a bit. I just wanted to talk about this because I think Jeremy Sochan is talked bad about quite often, and I don't like it, and I don't think that is warranted. So anyways, I'll get with you guys later, man. Until next time, bye.